It's time to make some noise. Welcome to Sound Off Sports. On today's show, the Chiefs are back-to-back Super Bowl champions. We discuss Patrick Mahomes. Can anybody take this dude down? We break it down. Plus, later in the show, Pro Football Hall of Famer, the great defensive back and Super Bowl champion of Super Bowl 18, Mike Haynes, joins the show. But first, we want to hear your thoughts. Where does Patrick Mahomes stack up with the GOAT, TB12? Let's go.
Make some noise. This is Sound Off Sports.
All right, so welcome to Sound Off Sports. I'm going to bring in my co-host and producer, James Edward Barrapin, the fourth. James, congratulations. I had the Niners winning the Super Bowl. You had Mahomes and the Chiefs all along. You just can't go against Mahomes, right?
No, absolutely not. Like I said last week, he's the new Brady. He's the inevitable. He's going to take a lot of Super Bowl rings away from quality QBs of his era, similar to Jordan in the 90s.
It's crazy. And now after back-to-back championships and now looking for that three-peat, they have 3 Super Bowls now in 5 years. But we wanted to know what you had to say about where Mahomes stacks up. Where is he the GOAT? Where does he stack up against the GOAT, TB12? Let's hear what you guys had to say.
Yeah, I don't think Patrick Mahomes is the greatest of all time. I think that he needs to take the pacifier out of his mouth and begin being a human being instead of a pampered little jerk.
Okay, first of all, that hot off the press. I mean, wow, that's fiery and spicy stuff. Listen, I think to me, what's being really said there is we're not appreciating. We have an issue as sports fans to not appreciate greatness when it's occurring. People said the same stuff about Tom Brady when he was on his journey to becoming the GOAT. People said the same stuff about MJ when he was winning all those rings with the Bulls. So let's just appreciate greatness in the moment rather than hating upon greatness. But I feel like so many sports fans, that's the compulsion. They need to do that. They need to hate the best player out there, and I don't get it.
It's a natural reaction for sports fans when a guy like Tom Brady, a guy like Patrick Mahomes is keeping your team from winning titles.
Yes.
It's a natural reaction to dislike that person, so I get it.
That makes sense.
Let's get into this next one.
Patrick Mahomes isn't even close to being a GOAT. He's only got 3 Super Bowl wins, which his defense and the bad coaching from the other teams, he'll have to kiss Tom Brady's ring for a very long time.
I mean, yeah, I agree. Listen, he's not the GOAT, but if we had to put money on who could become the GOAT, I think it's pretty likely Mahomes is going to do that just by the eye test. I mean, I've watched all of Brady's Super Bowls. To me, I watched Patrick Mahomes. I've never seen anybody do what he does on a football field. It's just striking how he's like a supernatural being at the quarterback position. It's ridiculous. So, yes, is he the GOAT today? No. But will he most likely become the GOAT? Yes.
I agree with you. I don't know if it's going to be really tough to catch Brady with 7 rings. He has 4 more to go. Montana's got 4. He'll catch Montana, obviously. But I would agree that he's well on his way.
Yeah. All right. And let's hear one last thing somebody had to say.
I don't see how he can be considered the GOAT along with Tom Brady when he hasn't even won half the number of Super Bowls that Brady has won, okay? He hasn't even won 4, which Joe Montana has won. So let's pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah, no, so this goes right back to what I was saying. He's not even at Montana yet, so let's chill a little bit with calling him the GOAT. Yeah, he's not even at Bradshaw yet. But I don't think people quite put Bradshaw in that category with Montana and Brady. I do, I'm a Steelers fan, but that's neither here nor there. Can he catch Brady with 7? That's the question. He is well on his way. Look at these stats really quick. Playoff wins before the age of 30. Brady had 12. Mahomes is already at 15. And he's only 28. So Mahomes easily has the best chance of anybody we've seen to catch Brady. It's, only time will tell.
I think a lot of it's going to come down to Andy Reid and how long he wants to stay as the head coach of that football team. But this really feeds directly into sink or swim. I want to talk about this because today's thesis for sink or swim is really about quarterback, the most important position in all of sports. And Patrick Mahomes is doing stuff that I really think is the most groundbreaking stuff I've ever seen on the gridiron. So there's been a very viral post that's been going out throughout after the Super Bowl championship. So get this, okay? Since 2001, there have been 125 drives in the NFL postseason under these circumstances, where the situation is it's the fourth quarter, there's under a minute left of play, and the team on offense is losing by either 7 points or fewer, okay? So there's been about 125 drives exactly in those circumstances since 2001. Only 40% of the time does the team on offense actually score the points and end up winning that game. So for instance, the GOAT, TB12, Tom Brady, he's 5-11 in those circumstances. That's 46%. Drew Brees, he's 3-6, 50% in those circumstances. And get this, Patrick Mahomes is 7 for 7. He's literally perfect under those circumstances. He overcomes in these moments, and it's hard to imagine how teams are going to take this dude down. Yes, you look at the 49ers roster, they had so much talent spread across the entire spectrum of the field. Yes, Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs defense, they're truly the unsung hero of that game. But for the Chiefs to only score 3 points in the first half and to come back and for him to will that team to have all those scramble and rushing yards on that last drive and to really catapult this team to back-to-back championships, it's incredible stuff. But let's get back to the true nature of this conversation. What everybody at home is really talking about is Patrick Mahomes the GOAT over Tom Brady. Well, I think it's unfair to have that conversation. What we can do is we can evaluate where they are both through their first initial 6 seasons as players. So both Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady in their first year, technically on an NFL roster, they only played 1 game. So we're going to start in their second full season and then go through those 6 consecutive years. So let's look at this. 2001 to 2006 for Tom Brady. He's got 3 Super Bowls. He won in 2001, 2003, and 2004. He has no MVP awards, played 95 games, threw for 21,558 yards, 147 touchdown passes thrown, and 78 interceptions. His QB record when he starts games, 70, 24, and 0. Okay, so that's his first 6 seasons. We know he went on to win 7 Super Bowl championships. We know he went on to win 3 MVP awards. He won it in his actually 7th season. But let's take a look at what Patrick Mahomes has done in comparison in those first 6 seasons. So from 2018 to 2023, we got 3 Super Bowl rings, 2019 against San Francisco, 2022 against Philadelphia Eagles, and obviously this last time against the 49ers. So that's 3 Super Bowls. He's got 2 MVPs in 2018 and 2022, 2 of which Tom Brady didn't have up until later. So he didn't have those MVP awards in his first 6 seasons. He's played 96 games to Brady's 95. He's thrown for 28,424 yards, so about 7,000 more yards, and 219 TDs to 147 and less interceptions with 63 to 78, and the record is even better. So to me, it's fair to evaluate 6 seasons to 6 seasons and what they have done with that groundwork. And I think if you look at the numbers and you see what the support system looks like, what he has accomplished at such a young age, at 28, if everything stays in place, we saw Steve Spagnuolo re-signed. We think Chris Jones is going to be staying. We're hoping Andy Reid and Travis Kelce are going to be staying if you're certainly a Chiefs fan. If those factors are still in place, it's going to be hard to see Patrick Mahomes going down anytime soon. Coming up after a short break, we got so much more action with you. We're talking to, yes, Super Bowl champion. We got to know what it's like to play on Super Bowl day. We got Mike Haynes, Pro Football Hall of Famer, joining us next.
You're watching Sound Off Sports.
Welcome back to Sound Off Sports. I am joined right now by the Pro Football Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion, Mike Haynes. Mike, Thanks for being with us. It's the Mike and Mike show today.
Thanks for having. Oh, I like that.
I like it too. Listen, let's talk about a little bit of everything. We obviously, as a former Super Bowl champion who picked off Joe Theismann in Super Bowl 18 in that big blowout victory with the Raiders, I want to get your take on everything that happened in the Super Bowl. But let's start with this. You had a quote where you said about playing defense. You said, "You're always either bad or great. There are no in-betweens. I wish the public was more educated about defense, but they're not. I had some of my best games when I'm competing and shutting out a guy and it goes unnoticed." So in the Super Bowl, I think defense was a big story that kind of has gone unnoticed, I think. We saw what Steve Spagnuolo has done with the Chiefs defense. When you're evaluating the Super Bowl and how they held Patrick Mahomes, even the 49ers held them to 3 points, in the first half. Tell me from a defensive perspective what you saw from the Super Bowl.
Well, actually, I was expecting a lot of scoring.
Yes.
But obviously both teams have great defenses. Otherwise, we would have seen a lot of scoring. And the coaches had a tremendous amount of respect for each other. And they weren't going to try to trick them and fool them and all the other stuff. They just wanted to play sound football.
Yeah.
And the defense, both defenses really played really well. Mahomes, he's a character. Now, most guys who are quarterback, they throw the ball the same way. He could throw it sidearm, overhand, backhand, underhand. He could throw a million ways.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know if he always played that way or if he learned to play that way and it helped him become a better quarterback. But he was a very interesting guy, and I'm sure defensive coordinators have a hard time trying to figure him out because most guys who are running to their left, they can't run to their left and throw back to their right.
Right.
He can.
It's crazy what he can do.
Yeah.
He's like a magician in the pocket, out of the pocket. But, when it comes to defensive back play, you are the stud of all studs. I mean, all time, you had 46 interceptions, 14 seasons, 4 All-Pro selections, 9 Pro Bowls. You were the 5th pick in the draft. You came from Arizona State. Immediately, you're the Defensive Rookie of the Year. You play all these seasons with the Patriots. Then you come to the Raiders, and now you have this tandem with Lester Hayes back there. And it's kind of like what we saw with McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed having an amazing tandem with 2 corners. But as you're watching the game nowadays and you see a player like Mahomes, what would you do if you were on the field as a cornerback? What could you do to stop this guy? Because I think 30 other franchises are watching the Super Bowl and they're thinking, how are we going to take down Mahomes?
Well, what I would do first thing is I'd call Lester Hayes. Lester Hayes, that guy, he'd been playing football, tackle football ever since he was a little kid.
Yeah.
And when I came to the Raiders and I saw how much he studied, I tried to study with him all the time. And so different things that he would notice, I didn't notice. And he said, yeah, you notice every time that back does this, this happens. I'm going, you're right, Lester. And so it really helped me. Now, I'd already played, 4 years of college, 7 years of pros before I came there. And I was still learning because I was lucky to have guys like him on my team. And the two of us together was a lot of fun. If you look at a lot of film of Lester, you'll see a lot of times where he would leave his man and go to where he knows the quarterback is going to throw the ball. This is the same down and distance. The plays are starting up the same way. The running back runs out this way. The line is blocking a certain way. He might leave his man and run over there to the tight end because he knows he's got to throw it to the tight end. That's how much of a student he was, much more of a student than me.
Just want to know that game, 38-9, you guys beat the Washington Redskins, Super Bowl 18, 1984. You had Marcus Allen was the MVP. He had a huge game on the ground. Cliff Branch, Ted Hendricks, Howie Long, so many great players. On the other side, John Riggins, Art Monk. What is the jitters like? Tell us. Not many people can understand what it's like to play in a Super Bowl game. You guys went up 21-3 at halftime, so it really was a blowout. But do you remember what those feelings were like? Is it truly just like any other football game, or does Super Bowl Sunday feel completely different?
Well, for me, it felt completely different. I can only speak for myself. And earlier that season, the Raiders and the Redskins played against each other. And the Redskins beat them.
And the Redskins were defending Super Bowl champions.
Right, and they were defending champions. So their ego was huge. They really thought, wow, we're going to really win this game. We've already played these guys. We know what kind of guys they are. However, the only thing that was really different was me. When they played earlier in the year,
didn't have you.
I wasn't a Raider yet. I was still holding out.
Games, yeah,
I was still holding out. And so that was probably the best thing that ever happened, because when I got a chance to study film with Lester, he would tell me why they did that, and I know Ted Watts, who was the other corner, who was just a young guy.
Yeah.
Super talented guy, but he's young, has a lot to learn. And over the course of the season, he would learn. Over the course of his career, he's going to learn. But this was a little early in his career, and they kind of picked on him. And so he had good coverage, but a completion is a completion, you know? And so they put me in front, and we started to win. And he would take their third guy, their other wide receiver.
Gotcha.
And that made us a super strong defensive team. And we all looked at film together, and we all shared notes. We all compared our thoughts and stuff like that. And I'd get their feelings on how they felt about the quarterback and all this. So it was fun. I enjoyed it. But because of what they said leading up to the game, I had my game face on for 2 days before that game.
Just
you know?
the intensity.
Yeah, it was going to be intense because I knew that it was going to be very difficult to stop them. They felt like they beat us. They felt like they were better than us. What's it going to take for them to back down? And that's what it took. It took us playing super tough football, gang tackling, making good hits, and breaking up balls and stuff like that. And just, you know, in the huddle, they should put a camera and a mic in the huddle. They hear what guys are saying in the huddle. But our huddle breaks were huge, and we walked out. If you looked at everybody's face after every huddle break, they had their game face on like this is the most important play. You guys were taking it seriously. Not the game. This is the most important play. When they go in that play, we play it well, get back in the huddle, same thing. Another play, we got to stop them. And so even when we were up, generally when you're up, you kind of like relax a little bit. You go, oh, they got to score 2 touchdowns to catch up with us. Not that game. We played every single play, every single quarter, all out.
And last question for you. What does it feel like when you pick off Joe Theismann in a Super Bowl game, you get that interception?
Well, just a Super Bowl interception is the most important thing. You know, at least you want that just because, you know, you're playing and you want to have a great career. You want to talk about the great things that you did. And if I just say, oh, I covered Mike Davis all day. You know, he was good.
Not an easy task. I'm a lot quicker than I look.
But having that interception, you know, is something that I didn't get a lot of times because people didn't like to try and throw on my side because I was like a receiver. I'd catch the ball just as easily as a receiver. And that made a huge difference for me. And I was honored that Joe Theismann tried to throw on me.
I love it. Listen, a stud and a gentleman on and off the field. Pro Football Hall of Famer, College Football Hall of Famer. He's part of the NFL 100 anniversary team, 75-year anniversary team, and he's a Super Bowl champion with the Raiders, the great Mike Haynes. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Guys, we'll be right back after a short break.
You're watching Sound Off Sports.
All right, welcome back to SOS. I'm bringing in producer James Edward Barrickman IV. James, what are we talking about now?
So we're just talking about the Super Bowl experience. How did Las Vegas do in hosting its first Super Bowl? We're hearing from Charlene Moreno on Facebook. She says, Metro needs to have more traffic cops out controlling traffic around the Strip in the events all that week. Uber and the customers were not happy about the amount of time it took just to go a few miles. I mean, we were stuck in traffic for 30-plus minutes to go from one casino to the next.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that's a given, right? Bad traffic during Super Bowl week. I think that's an expectation.
That's exactly my thoughts as well. I mean, it's Super Bowl week in the entertainment capital of the world. If there was an easy fix, I mean, Vegas has massive events like this every other week, seemingly. If there was an easy fix, it would get fixed by now.
Yeah, all right. What else do people have to say?
So this one's from Derek Ragunanan on Facebook. He said, should be here every year. Fantastic job, Las Vegas.
So, James, tell us about that. You were covering the game. You were at the game. How did we do as a host city? Should we be hosting this every year?
I wouldn't say host every year because I'm a fan of spreading the love a little bit. As much as I would love for it to be in this city every year, give other people a chance to host it. But no, I thought it was great all week long. I mean, opening night at Allegiant was beautiful. NFL Honors Friday night at Resorts World was great. The Super Bowl breakfast at Caesars Saturday morning was immaculate. And the fan experience at the Mandalay Bay Convention Center had everything from Hall of Fame busts to memorabilia auctions and skills competitions. I mean, I was out there knocking down field goals from 25 yards out. Probably would have been good from 45. I'm just like that. But when you look back at Super Bowl week, can you think of any major hiccups?
I mean, to me, listen, I even from watching the game at home, I thought the field looked immaculate. You know, it's an incredible stadium to take in a game. So I think it was a beautiful thing. And I have to do a little cross promotion because we have a new show coming up called Sin City Beat. We're going to be doing a deep dive on everything from Super Bowl week when it pertains to Vegas as a host city. So make sure you look out for that because we're going to be doing a deep dive on all this kind of stuff. But guys, coming up after a short break, we're going to be giving you some more action here on SOS. Make sure you stick around. We got more action coming up in a short second.
You're watching Sound Off Sports.
All right, welcome back to Sound Off Sports. So, James, I want to bring you in because, you know, we also got to talk about the Super Bowl in general. Everybody loves the commercials, but let's talk about, you know, the halftime performance. Usher, he's got so many hits. He brought out Alicia Keys. He brought out her. What did you think being in the stadium? I saw you posting all about it. Where does it rank all time for you, halftime show, Super Bowl wise?
It's always going to hold a special place in my heart because that's the first Super Bowl I've ever been to. Is it the greatest one ever?
Yeah.
Who's to say? I was not really excited about Usher when it was first announced that he was going to be doing the halftime show, but I have to say I was thoroughly impressed. He brought out Alicia Keys, that's my girl, Luda, and Lil Jon. I thought it was great. Is it up there with the Shakira J-Lo halftime show in Miami? I don't know about all that, but I loved it.
You also like the Janet Jackson, Justin Timberlake one as well. Me, listen, I'm just gonna say Prince. I'm an old soul. Everybody knows at home I'm 32, but basically going 72. Prince, the Rolling Stones, Tom Petty. Those are the big ones. So I got to go with those. But still, Usher Raymond, man, a big time entertainer. I do have to say my favorite commercial though, the Michael CeraVe. That was good. I like that a lot. And Arnold State Farm. You gotta see listen, there are some downfalls, James, to not being at home. You think, oh, you had it made because you were there. You didn't get to see the commercials.
Exactly. That's the only downside. I got nothing to say here because I didn't see any commercials.
You got nothing to say. All right, guys, we want to know what you got to say about those things too. Send us an email at soundoffsports@kvvu.com, and also make sure you reach out on Facebook. We always want to hear what you have to say. We'll see you next time on Sound Off Sports.